Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, and Hersheypark in Hershey, Pennsylvania are two of my favorite amusement parks. I love both of these parks, and they both have absolutely incredible coaster collections. But which park has the better one? Well, obviously Cedar Point. But what can Hersheypark do to pass Cedar Point in their coaster lineup? I visited both of these parks 2 days in a row, so I really got a good feel of what Hersheypark really needed to surpass Cedar Point. So without further ado, let's hop straight into it. The first thing we are going to look at is what Cedar Point does better than Hersheypark. And one thing that really stood out to me was ride duration. All of Cedar Point's roller coasters pretty much surpass the 2-minute ride time mark, while most of Hersheypark's roller coasters are under 2 minutes. Like, for example, Sky Rush is only a minute long, Storm Runner, like 30 seconds. I know Hersheypark's roller coasters are really good, but one thing they could do better is make the rides a little bit longer in the future. And also, of course, Cedar Point has more coasters than Hersheypark at the moment, but honestly, that doesn't really matter. Hersheypark's lineup is very well rounded, but Cedar Point's is mostly just for the thrill seekers, and some of their coasters aren't that great, like Wilderness Run. That kiddie coaster is not good compared to Coco Cruiser. So, yeah, there are definitely things that Cedar Point does better than Hershey, but definitely not that many. So, now we're going to get into the meat of this video, what Hersheypark needs to pass Cedar Point in their coaster lineup. And honestly, I have a bunch of things to talk about. First off, I know Hersheypark has been adding a ton of big coasters this century, but honestly, I think Hersheypark will need to add one more big coaster after Wildcat's Revenge. One more big coaster with a decently long ride duration, and I think that will put them pretty close to Cedar Point. At the moment, Hershey has Storm Runner, Fahrenheit, Sky Rush, Candemonium, Great Bear, and even Lightning Racer as their standout attractions. Now Cedar Point's over here with Gatekeeper, Raptor, Valor, Maverick, Steve, Magnet. More standout attractions than Hershey. Hershey, I think they just need to add one more large-scale roller coaster within the next 5 years, and I think they'll be pretty close to Cedar Point. Because as we can see, Cedar Point has been taking a bit of a break from large coasters. So they'll definitely probably get back into it soon. So Hersheypark's going to need to act quick if they're going to catch up with Cedar Point. That next big coaster that Hershey adds has to have over 2 minutes of ride time, just like Candemonium. Honestly, I personally think Hersheypark is going to call up B&M again for their next project. And if that is the case, it'll probably be a dive coaster or something along those lines. So I think that, honestly, I don't know, it kind of puts them closer to Cedar Point. But if they go for a B&M dive, I definitely think they'll have to add another big roller coaster. I know that might sound weird because I just said that they would need one more large-scale roller coaster. But a B&M dive, it isn't really much. I mean, Valraven, it's tall, it's fast, it's long, but height, speed, and length don't really mean everything, and dive coasters aren't really a great ride. So if Hershey's going to want a good coaster to beat Cedar Point, they're definitely going to need something like a more intense B&M, like maybe their new surf coaster. I don't know how that's going to run because the one down in SeaWorld Orlando isn't open yet, but maybe a Mack multi-launch. I know that's kind of a stretch, but that would really be a really great attraction for Hershey and would really be a great roller coaster with a long ride duration and really be a good standout attraction to get them closer to Cedar Point. Hersheypark honestly also needs some storytelling. I know they've got a little tiny bit going on with the Wildcats in Hersheypark's coaster history, but honestly, they don't really have much of a story between their coasters, while Hersheypark, all the Frontier Town coasters are connected together through one big story. I feel like that would just be really great for Hersheypark. Maybe, I don't know where they could personally do it, maybe in the Pioneer Frontier section with like Storm Runner and Trailblazer, I feel like that could maybe be a good, maybe? I mean, if Sidewinder was not named Jolly Ranch Remix, I definitely think they could do a trio tie-up just like Cedar Point did. But I just feel like Story would bring so much more to the coaster lineup, just like Cedar Point's. Hersheypark's newest roller coaster, well, it's a very good addition. The redo of Wildcat is absolutely amazing. I'm just so happy that they actually called in RMC because that was a huge gap in their lineup. I mean, they have the spinning coaster, all the family coasters, dueling coaster, wooden coaster, hyper coaster, actually 2 hyper coasters, a launch coaster, vertical lift coaster, vertical drop coaster, just a whole bunch of things. And I'm so happy they finally got that hybrid coaster. Just, this ride looks to be really good, and I feel like it will add so much to the lineup and fill in pretty much all the gaps. So back to what I was saying about the Mac multi-launch. Since this RMC conversion fills in pretty much all the gaps, I feel like the only tiny gap they have left is a multi-launch coaster. I know they could call up Intamin again, but they do not have a good relationship with Intamin after what Skyrush has did to the park, just financially. So I think Mac Rides could just be a really good fit for Hersheypark. It's a very good multi-launch coaster with very good transitions and inversions and a very smooth ride experience. And yeah, I just feel like this would be a very good addition. A very good addition compared to a possible B&M dive. So if Hersheypark went for a mock multi-launch coaster, where would they stack up against Cedar Point's lineup? Well, let's check it out. Small-scale Intamin coasters in Fahrenheit and Maverick. Maverick takes the cake here, obviously. Hybrid coasters, I feel like Steel Vengeance will take the cake, but it could be close. And then you have yourself some interesting ones. Millennium Force versus Candemonium. This could go either way, but I'm going to say Millennium Force. So that's 3-0 Cedar Point, and that might seem like it's going downhill for Hershey, but here's where things start to get better. We'll start with family coasters. You know, we got Coco Cruiser versus Wilderness Run, and Coco Cruiser takes the cake. We got Trailblazer versus Woodstock Express. Trailblazer takes the cake. Classic Woodies, Comet versus Blue Streak. Comet takes the cake. Bang, 3-3, just like that. Tallest Intamin coasters. Top Thrill Dragster versus Skyrush. And this could go either way, but Skyrush is a more complete ride, so there's another point for Hershey. And then you also have Storm Runner versus, let's just say, Maverick for this because it's actually operating. And, you know, Top Thrill Dragster is going to get an LSM launch soon. So, and Storm Runner takes the cake here as well. And you're starting to see Hersheypark. It's really good coaster collection, and they really compete with Cedar Point. But Cedar Point, they have just the more coasters and more thrilling rides with longer ride duration. But a lot of Cedar Point's rides just don't stack up to Hersheypark's, top 5 roller coasters. So I just think if Hersheypark can get another full-scale, just large edition, like a mock multi-launch coaster that has a 2-minute ride duration or more and has good airtime, good inversions, and has a good story, I feel like they could catch up to Cedar Point and maybe even surpass them. I mean, they're already close at this point with Wildcat's Revenge, and I just think that Hersheypark can do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.